Sometimes God closes a door, not to shut you out, but to shut them up. My friends, let that sink in for a moment, because there comes a point in your life when people look at you, shrug their shoulders, and think, yeah, they're done. They think you're finished just because you went quiet, or stepped back, or stopped explaining yourself. They mistake your silence for surrender. They mistake your pause for defeat. And that right there, that's the biggest lie you were ever taught to believe. Before we dive into this, press that like button and hit subscribe, because what we're about to unpack might just be the thing that flips your whole mindset today. And trust me, you're going to want to hear every word of this. So, stay with me. Hey folks, imagine this for a second. Picture a seed buried in the dark. If someone walked by and saw that tiny seed underground, they'd assume it's lifeless. Finished. Done. What they don't realize is that the darkness isn't its burial ground, it's its training ground. That seed isn't dying, it's preparing. It's breaking open so it can rise higher, and that's exactly what your life has been doing behind the scenes, breaking open so you can break through. But people don't see that part. People only see the surface, the quiet, the distance, the stillness. They don't see the battle inside you. They don't see the growth God is stirring in rooms they were never invited into. They don't understand that sometimes God hides you because he's healing you. And let's be honest, my friends, some folks enjoyed believing you were done. They enjoyed thinking your story was over because it made them feel bigger. You'd be amazed how many people feel taller when they think you've shrunk. It's like that classic quote, "Some people want to see you do well, just not better than them." Ain't that the truth? But here's the twist they didn't expect. You weren't falling apart. You were falling into place. You weren't being rejected. You were being redirected. You weren't losing. You were learning. There were moments you felt forgotten, moments you felt overlooked, moments you felt like God himself went quiet. But sometimes, my friends, heaven goes silent, not to punish you, but to reposition you. Even the GPS in your car goes silent when you're on the right path. Silence isn't always the enemy. Sometimes it's confirmation. Think about a slingshot. When you pull it back, it looks like everything is moving in the wrong direction. It looks like retreat. It looks like setback. But the farther it pulls back, the stronger the launch. That's you. God has been pulling you back to launch you further than they ever imagined. They thought the pullback was your downfall, but it's actually your breakthrough. And yes, let's add a little humor, because life has a sense of irony, doesn't it? The same people who doubted you are going to be the ones pretending they always believed in you once the blessings start rolling in. You know the type. The ones who suddenly pop up like Wi-Fi signals after disappearing for weeks. Hey, stranger. Yeah. Okay. But hear me clearly, your comeback isn't about proving them wrong, it's about proving God right. Your purpose, your strength, your calling was never up for debate. People's opinions didn't build you, so their judgments can't break you. What you're stepping into next isn't luck, it's alignment, it's divine timing, it's the version of you that God has been shaping while the world thought you were sleeping. So take a deep breath, my friends, because you're not done, you're just getting started, and the world is about to see a version of you that even you didn't know was possible. And before we continue, I want you to write this in the comments right now. I rise now. Just 3 words. Speak it. Claim it. Own it. And if this message already hit your spirit, press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next will open your eyes even wider. Number 1, they misread your silence as defeat. Sometimes the loudest thing you'll ever say is the moment you stop explaining yourself. My friends, that line stings a little, doesn't it? Because deep down, you know exactly what it feels like when they mistake your silence for surrender. They look at your quiet and think, yeah, they're finally broken, they're done, they gave up. They don't realize you're not collapsing, you're calculating, you're not lost, you're leveling up. They see your pause and label it as weakness because they were never taught how powerful stillness can be. Imagine this with me for a second. Picture a battlefield after the noise is gone. No more shouting, no more clash of swords, no more chaos, just smoke, dust, and silence. To someone looking from far away, it might look like everything is over. But if you step closer, you realize something different is happening. The warriors are catching their breath. The leaders are planning their next move. The fight is not over. It's evolving. That's your life right now. From the outside, they think your silence means you're done fighting. But on the inside, this is where your strategy, healing, and rebirth are being formed. Tell me honestly, how many times have you asked yourself these questions in the quiet? Did I do the right thing by stepping back? Do they think I'm weak now? Are they laughing, thinking they won? There's a fear that creeps in when you go silent, a fear that your absence makes you look small, a fear that if you're not speaking, posting, reacting, explaining, then maybe you've lost. That fear doesn't come from the truth, my friends. It comes from a lie you were raised with, the lie that the one who talks the most, posts the most, reacts the fastest, wins. But let's break that lie right now. Not every reaction is power. Not every answer is strength. In fact, some of the strongest moves you will ever make are the ones no one sees. There's a powerful quote that says, "Never waste your energy explaining who you are to people committed to misunderstanding you." That's what your silence is doing now. It's not you running away. It's you refusing to keep auditioning for a role in a story that was never written to honor you. They misread your silence because they only understand noise. They're used to people begging, chasing, proving, pleading. They're used to drama, to late-night paragraphs, to arguments that go in circles. So when you step out of that cycle and choose calm over chaos, your peace confuses them. In their mind, if you're not chasing, you must be broken. If you're not explaining, you must be guilty. If you're not performing, you must be finished. But think of a lion, my friends. A lion doesn't need to roar every 5 seconds to prove it's powerful. Sometimes the most terrifying thing in the jungle is not the sound of the predator, but the silence before it moves. Your silence is that quiet strength. They just don't know how to read it. Now, let's be real. Choosing silence is not easy. It's not some pretty Instagram quote floating over a sunset. It's a real, raw discipline. Your mind screams, "Say something." Your pride whispers, "Prove them wrong." Your anger wants to step in and show them you're not the one to play with. And yet something deeper inside you says, "No, not this time. We don't operate like that anymore." That inner voice, the calm one, is the voice of growth. That's God. That's wisdom. That's your higher self, pulling you out of the old pattern and into a new level. They think you're doing nothing, but silence is not nothing. Silence is where you stop explaining and start observing. Silence is where you notice who reaches out when you stop carrying the whole connection on your back. Silence is where you see who actually cares and who only enjoyed the benefit of your attention. Silence is when masks fall off because your reactions are no longer there to hold their performance together. Ask yourself, why do they think your silence means defeat? Because they need your reaction to feel powerful, because your emotions were their playground, because your replies were their supply. When you step back, they lose control. They don't see that your quiet is not emptiness. It's a boundary. It's a line in the sand that says, I will no longer bleed just to prove I'm alive to you. You're not being cold. You're being clear. Think of a phone battery on 1%. At that moment, your phone doesn't start downloading 10 apps. It doesn't open every tab. It doesn't play every video. It goes into low power mode. It protects what little charge is left. That's what your silence is doing for your soul. You've been running at 1% for too long, trying to keep people, prove yourself, fix everything. Now your spirit has entered low power mode to protect what's left and rebuild from there. And yes, people will get offended when you're no longer available, like a 24/7 emotional service station. That's fine. Let them. You're not here to be endlessly accessible to those who treat you like you're replaceable. Your silence is teaching them that your presence was a privilege, not a guarantee. And deep down, they feel it. They might not admit it. They might act unbothered, but the energy has shifted. They don't have the same access. The door they used to walk through without knocking is now locked, and that lock is your self-respect. So instead of asking, do they think I'm weak? Start asking, why did I ever think I had to perform strength for people who never protected my heart? That's the lie you're breaking now. The lie that love means constant access. The lie that loyalty means tolerating disrespect. The lie that being a good person means always being available. My friends, your silence is not the end of your story. It's the editing phase. This is where you cut out characters who were never meant to be in the next chapter. This is where you remove scenes that no longer match your growth. This is where you stop letting people write over your script and finally pick up your own pen. And yes, it scares them. It scares them when you don't react the way you used to. It scares them when the old buttons don't work anymore. It scares them when the drama they started doesn't get a response. Because now they're forced to sit with themselves. Your silence is no longer their weapon. It's their mirror. You are not defeated. You are evolving. You are not broken. You are being rebuilt. You are not done. You are in development. I want you to write this in the comments right now. I am not defeated. Write it to show them. Write it to show yourself. Write it so the world around you knows. Your silence is not your end. It's your upgrade. And stay with me, because in the next part, we're going even deeper into what God is really doing with you in this quiet season. Number 2, God works in the dark before he reveals in the light. What grows in darkness is often what shines the brightest in the light. My friends, let that line sit in your chest for a moment, because if you've ever felt hidden, overlooked, ignored, or pushed aside, this section is for you. People think that if they can't see progress, there is no progress. They think your silence means your story has gone flat. They think your absence means your purpose disappeared. But that's only because they don't understand how God works. God does his best building in the dark. He develops you where no one is watching, so when he finally reveals you, nobody can take credit. Imagine walking into a theater before the show starts. The curtains are closed. The room feels still, empty, almost forgotten. But behind those curtains, everything is happening. Set pieces are being moved. Lighting is being adjusted. Actors are preparing. The story is taking shape. That darkness isn't the end, it's the preparation. And my friends, that's exactly what God has been doing in your life. Behind the curtain, out of sight, away from the audience's eyes. He's been shifting things, healing things, removing things, strengthening things. You weren't forgotten. You were being formed. But when you don't see the progress yourself, fear creeps in. Thoughts whisper in your ear. Why is nothing happening? Why does this feel so slow? Why does everyone seem ahead of me? Why did God put me here? And the scariest question of all, did he leave me? Those doubts feel heavy because darkness amplifies everything. When life goes quiet, your insecurities become loud. When things slow down, your anxiety speeds up. When God hides you, you assume it's punishment. But here's another truth that breaks that lie. God doesn't hide you to harm you, he hides you to help you. Think about a diamond. Do you know where it's formed? Under the ground, in darkness, under pressure, in a place where nobody sees its process, only its result. God formed you the same way. He didn't expose you too early because you weren't meant to be handled by people who don't understand your worth. He kept you covered because premature exposure would have destroyed you. My friends, not every dark season is an attack. Some are protection. Let me give you another example. When a photographer develops a photo the old-school way, they take the film into a dark room, complete darkness, no bright lights, no eyes watching, because if the light touches the photo too early, it's ruined. The darkroom isn't punishment, it's preservation. God took you into a darkroom season because what he's developing in you is too precious to rush. And the people who thought you were done, they didn't realize the darkroom was where God was crafting your next chapter. But of course, it's hard. Being hidden feels lonely. Being overlooked feels painful. Being unseen feels unfair. You watch others rise while you remain still. You see them celebrated while you sit in silence. You wonder why your journey feels slower, heavier, harder. And here comes the lie again. If it's hard, something must be wrong. No, my friends. Sometimes when life gets harder, it's because you're leveling up. The cocoon looks like a prison to the caterpillar, but it's actually the birthplace of wings. Transformation disguises itself as confinement. Maybe you've been asking, why doesn't it feel like God is doing anything? But what if he's doing the most right now? What if the delay is divine timing? What if the silence is God removing the wrong people from your path? What if the slowness is God strengthening you for what's ahead? What if loneliness is God's way of detoxing your spirit from all the noise you once depended on? Hear me clearly. Just because you don't see progress doesn't mean you're not being prepared. They thought nothing was happening because they couldn't see it. They judged your story from the outside. They made assumptions from the surface. They whispered, "See, I knew they wouldn't make it." But little do they know. Roots grow before branches. Progress happens underground. Expansion happens internally before it ever shows externally. That's God's pattern. Quiet growth, hidden development, silent elevation. And let's be honest, some people didn't just misunderstand your dark season. They enjoyed it. They enjoyed thinking you were stuck. They enjoyed thinking you were smaller than your calling. They enjoyed believing you were finished because it made their ego feel tall. But God is about to humble them gently by lifting you publicly. He let them see you in the dark so they can witness what he brings you into the light. My friends, you are not delayed. You are being delivered. You are not forgotten. You are being fortified. You are not behind. You are being built. What God is preparing you for requires strength, clarity, and character. You're not just stepping into a blessing, you're stepping into a responsibility. And he needed to grow you in silence so you don't collapse in the spotlight. So breathe, trust the dark. The same God who allows the seed to break underground is the same God who commands it to rise. Your rising is coming. Your unveiling is coming. Your breakthrough is coming. The chapter you're stepping into will make sense of every tear you cried in private. Before we continue, write this in the comments right now. My breakthrough is forming. Say it, claim it, show it. Because the world is about to see what God has been building inside you all along. Stay with me. The next part will open your eyes even more. Number 3. Your setback was a setup, not a shutdown. Sometimes what feels like life breaking you is actually life bending you toward where you were always meant to go. My friends, that one hits deep, doesn't it? Because when everything started going wrong, when doors closed, when they walked away, when the plan fell apart, it didn't feel holy. It didn't feel divine. It didn't feel like growth. It felt like failure. It felt like you did something wrong. It felt like God left you in the middle of the storm with no umbrella and no explanation. And while you were trying to breathe, they were standing on the sidelines saying, "See, I knew it. They're done." But what if the very thing that looked like your ending was actually God rearranging the scene for your next beginning? Imagine you're driving on a road you've taken 1,000 times. You know every turn, every bump, every sign. Then suddenly you see a big, bright road closed sign blocking your way. Frustrating, right? Annoying. You're forced onto a detour, longer, unfamiliar, uncomfortable. At first you think, why now? Why this? But then, halfway through that detour, you realize something. This route is safer, smoother, takes you past places you were never planning to see. Opportunities, views, new directions. From the outside, it looked like an inconvenience. In reality, it was protection. That's your so-called setback. It wasn't a shutdown. It was a divine detour. How many times have you sat alone and asked yourself, why did they leave when I needed them most? Why did this job fall through? Why did everything collapse just when I thought I was getting stable? Why does it feel like every time I get up, something pushes me back down? Those questions come from a place of pain, but also from a lie we've been told, that if it's falling apart, it's failing, that if it hurts, it must be wrong, that if people walk away, something is wrong with you. That's not always the truth, my friends. Sometimes God allows things to break because they were built on the wrong foundation. Sometimes He lets people exit because they were never supposed to sit in the front row of your destiny. Sometimes He lets something end because you were clinging to what you've outgrown. Think about a tree being pruned. If you didn't know better, you'd think the gardener was trying to hurt it, cutting branches, trimming leaves, taking away what looked full and alive. But the gardener isn't trying to kill the tree. They're creating space for stronger growth, removing what's draining energy, making room for fruit that hasn't appeared yet. From the tree's perspective, it's loss. From the gardener's perspective, it's preparation. Your setbacks have been God's pruning, not punishment. Preparation. They thought those cuts meant you were finished. They saw you lose people, lose status, lose momentum, and said, yeah, they fell off. They didn't realize God was cutting off what was secretly weakening you. They didn't understand that the chapter you were forced to leave behind was too small for the person you're becoming. They judged your story in the middle, not knowing the author had already written a comeback they couldn't see. Let's talk about the fear for a second, because when everything starts going wrong, your mind doesn't say, ah, yes, set up from God, beautiful. No, your mind panics. You start thinking, maybe I am cursed. Maybe I'm not enough. Maybe I missed my chance. Maybe this is it for me. That fear doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. But fear becomes a prison when you start treating temporary situations like permanent sentences. Just because you had a season of loss doesn't mean your entire life is doomed. There's a quote I love: rejection is often redirection with better vision. That job that didn't work out, it might have trapped you in a version of yourself that never grew. That relationship that ended, it might have kept you begging for love you were supposed to find in yourself and in God. That friend who betrayed you, they might have been the one who would have sabotaged your next level behind your back. What you called a setback might have been heaven's way of saying, not this, not like this, not with them. My friends, you didn't lose control of your life. You lost the illusion that you were in control of everything. That's different. Stoicism teaches us to accept what is outside our control and master what's inside. Faith teaches us that what feels out of control to us is still fully in God's hands. Put those together and you realize your worst fall was not the end. It was the floor your new strength is being built on. Think about your own story. Look back for a second. There were moments you thought you'd never recover from. The breakup that shattered you, the betrayal that hollowed you out, the season where it felt like nothing was working. But you're here. You survived things that once convinced you you'd never smile again. That alone is proof. The setback did not destroy you. It carved you into someone wiser, stronger, sharper, someone who no longer chases what isn't aligned, someone who can stand in a storm and say, I've seen worse, I've survived worse, I will rise again. So no, your setback was not a shutdown, it was a setup, a repositioning, a recalibration. You didn't fall off. You were pulled back like an arrow so you can be launched further than before. You didn't get disqualified. You got refined. The old version of you couldn't carry what God is about to place in your hands. The loss burned away what was weak. The pain burned away what was fake. What's left is real, and real things grow. You're not behind. You're being aligned. You're not cursed. You're being clarified. You're not done. You're in development. I want you to write this in the comments right now. I'm being set up to rise. Write it to show them. Write it to show yourself. Show it to the world around you. Because the next part of this journey, it's where they start realizing the story they thought was over is just getting interesting. Stay with me. Number 4. The ones who counted you out will be the first to watch you rise. Sometimes God doesn't remove your enemies. He keeps them close, just long enough to reserve them front row seats to your elevation. My friends, that one cuts deep, doesn't it? Because you remember exactly who doubted you. You remember the jokes, the side comments, the fake concern that was really just disguised satisfaction. You remember the people who shrugged when you fell, who went silent when you struggled, who quietly agreed with the idea that you were finished. They didn't say it to your face, but you felt it in their energy. Yeah, they're done. Here's what they didn't know. While they were writing you off, God was writing you in. Imagine a stadium before a big game. The commentator says, this team doesn't stand a chance. They're outmatched. It's over before it starts. The crowd laughs, relaxes, gets comfortable, expecting an easy win. And then the team everyone doubted walks onto the field with a different fire in their eyes. They're not loud, not arrogant, just focused. Slowly, the energy shifts. The team that was supposed to be crushed starts gaining ground. The crowd that was laughing grew quiet. That's your story. The same people who counted you out are about to get real quiet when they realize you didn't come to quit. You came to rise. You've probably asked yourself in the dark, why did they enjoy watching me struggle? Or why were they so quick to believe I was done? It hurts when the people you thought were in your corner secretly clap for your downfall. It hurts when someone says, I'm here for you, but disappears at the first sign of difficulty. It hurts when your pain becomes someone else's entertainment. And a part of you thinks, if they think I'm done, maybe I am. That's the fear they never see, the fear that maybe their opinion is a prophecy, the fear that maybe you really are as small, as weak, as finished as they quietly assume. But here's the lie in that. People's opinions are not spiritual laws. Their assumptions are not your identity. Their predictions are not God's plan. Just because they don't see a way for you doesn't mean there isn't one. There's a quote I love. They threw dirt on your name, not knowing you were a seed. That's exactly what their doubt did. Every time someone counted you out, every time they said they'll never get back up, they were unknowingly participating in your planting. They weren't burying you. They were covering you for a season you were meant to grow in. Think about a rocket. Right before it takes off, it looks still, almost unimpressive. People gather, watch and talk. Some doubt, some mock, some underestimate what's about to happen. But when that countdown hits 0 and the engines ignite, everything changes. The ground shakes, the air shifts, and the rocket rises, higher, faster, farther than anyone on the ground could ever reach. The same people who were standing there casually are suddenly staring up, shading their eyes, watching what they never believed would lift off. That's how your rise will look, ordinary from the outside until it isn't. And here's the part that really stings, for them, not for you. God often allows the ones who spoke over your failure to stay close enough to witness your favor. Not to humiliate them, but to humble them, to show them what happens when they underestimate someone who is covered, not by crowd approval, but by divine purpose. The ones who laughed, they'll be the ones saying, "Wow, I didn't see that coming." The ones who said, "They're done," they'll be replaying your story in their mind, wondering where they misjudged you. But let's be clear, your rise is not about flexing on them. It's not about rubbing it in their faces or posting, "Look at me now." Stoicism and faith together teach something deeper. Your victory is not for revenge. It's for revelation. It reveals who you really are. It reveals what God can do with someone who refuses to give up. It reveals the difference between being validated by people and being validated by purpose. You might be tempted to think, when I rise, I'm going to show them. I'm going to make them regret everything. That's a normal thought, but let's lift it higher. Instead of trying to prove them wrong, let your life prove God right. Let your peace be your clapback. Let your stability be your answer. Let your transformation be the only statement you need. It won't be easy, though. It's hard watching people silently root against you. It's hard feeling their doubt like a weight on your shoulders. It's hard knowing someone is checking your life like a show they tuned into just to see if you crashed. But that's where your strength is being built. Each time you choose not to collapse under their expectations, you get stronger. Each time you choose to keep going despite their disbelief, you grow more grounded. You're learning to live for something bigger than their approval. You're learning to say, they can think what they want. I know what I carry. You're learning to trust that the one who started something in you isn't about to drop it because people don't get it. One day, they'll see it. They'll see you healed where you were once broken. They'll see you stable where you were once shaking. They'll see you smiling in a way that no longer hides a storm. They'll see you walking in rooms you once only dreamed of entering. They'll see connections you never had before, doors that used to be locked now, opening quietly in front of you. And they'll have to admit, even if only to themselves, we counted them out too soon. And you won't need to say a word. Your life will be the speech. Your peace will be the proof. Your joy will be the evidence. My friends, I want you to do something powerful. Write this in the comments right now. I will rise in front of them. Write it to show them. Write it to show yourself. Show it to the world around you. Because the story isn't that they doubted you. The story is that you rose anyway. And stay with me, because in the next part, we're going even deeper into the version of you God is shaping through all of this. Number 5, you're becoming the version they never believed you could be. Don't be surprised when the version of you they tried to break becomes the version of you they can no longer reach. My friends, that one hits a nerve, doesn't it? Because somewhere along the way, people decided who you were, what you were capable of, and where your story was supposed to stop. They put you in a box made of their own limitations and slapped a label on you. Too emotional, too weak, too damaged, not going anywhere. They thought they knew your final form. What they never saw coming is that God was just getting started with you. Let's paint a picture together. Imagine a video game character at level 1. Small abilities, basic skills, limited power. The people watching at that stage laugh and say, "This is it. This is all they've got." But what they forget is this. The character doesn't stay at level 1. Every battle, every obstacle, every loss, every comeback gives experience. Quietly, slowly, the character levels up. New strengths unlock. New abilities appear. Damage, once taken, turns into armor. That's you right now. They met you at level 1 and judged your whole destiny from the tutorial. You've probably had these thoughts late at night. Maybe this is just who I am. Maybe I really am the broken one. Maybe they were right about me. And those thoughts hurt because they sound familiar. They echo things you were told by people you trusted, folks who said, "You're too sensitive. You're not strong enough. You'll never change. You're always going to be this way." Those weren't facts. Those were projections. People speak out of their own fear, their own insecurity, their own limits. They couldn't see your future, so they tried to freeze you in your past. But here's the truth that breaks that lie. You are not who you were when they mishandled you. You are who you're becoming right now. Think of gold. In its raw form, it doesn't look impressive. It looks like any other dull rock. No sparkle, no shine, nothing special. But when it passes through fire, when it's melted, refined, purified, it becomes something people treasure. The fire doesn't destroy it, it reveals it. That's what your hard seasons have been doing. You're not crumbling, you're being refined. That old version of you that begged for bare minimum attention, that explained yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, that tolerated disrespect just to keep the peace. That version is burning away in the fire of everything you've learned. They thought you'd stay stuck in that version forever. They thought you would always react the same way, always answer the phone, always rush to fix things, always sacrifice yourself to keep people comfortable. They became confident in the idea that you'd never grow past the version of you they benefited from. But growth is sneaky like that. It doesn't send a calendar invite. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It happens slowly, silently, in the choices no one sees. You chose to set a boundary instead of keeping quiet. You chose to walk away instead of begging. You chose to pause instead of reacting. You chose to heal instead of hurt back. Those didn't look like big moments to anyone else, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally, those were level ups. That was you becoming a new version, a version that still feels deeply but no longer lets feelings run the show. A version that still loves but no longer abandons self-respect to prove it. A version that still cares but refuses to be controlled. And let's be honest, my friends, it's not easy stepping into this version. There's grief in outgrowing your old self. There's fear in becoming someone you've never been before. You catch yourself thinking, who am I without chaos? Who am I if I'm not saving everyone? Who am I if I stop chasing? That's why growth hurts. You're not just losing people, you're losing the identity you built around them. But God didn't call you to stay imprisoned in a version of yourself that was built on survival. He's leading you into a version built on peace. There's a quote, You are allowed to outgrow people who don't want to grow. I'll add one more. You are also allowed to outgrow the version of yourself that settled for them. The new you is quieter but stronger, softer but sharper, kinder but clearer. You don't scream to be heard anymore. You don't beg to be seen. You don't argue with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Your energy is expensive now, and you're finally charging what it's worth. They might call you changed, like it's an insult. You're not the same anymore. Good. That's the point. You weren't meant to stay at the level where they were comfortable stepping on your boundaries. You weren't meant to stay at the level where their opinion could crush your entire mood. You weren't meant to stay at the level where you saw yourself through their eyes instead of God's. One day they will see it. They'll scroll past your life and feel it in their chest. The groundedness, the glow, the peace, the maturity. The way you now walk like someone who's been through storms and came out with wisdom instead of bitterness. They'll remember the old version of you, the one who tolerated what you now walk away from. They'll realize they misjudged you, not because you yelled it in their face, but because your life became undeniable evidence. You are becoming the version of yourself that was always inside you, hidden under pain, doubt, fear, and broken beliefs. God is peeling all of that back. Stoicism is helping you master your reactions. Faith is helping you trust the process. Together, they're shaping a you that is not easily shaken. My friends, I want you to mark this transformation. Write this in the comments right now. I'm becoming who I was meant to be. Write it to show them. Write it to show yourself. Show it to the world around you. Because the version you're stepping into, that's the one they never believed you could reach. And in the next part, we're going to talk about how their doubt didn't just hurt you. It actually fueled the fire that's lifting you higher. Stay with me. Number 6, their doubt was the fuel your spirit needed. Sometimes all it takes is someone believing you can't, for God to remind you that you always could. My friends, that sentence cuts right into the truth, doesn't it? Because deep down, you know exactly what it felt like when they doubted you. Not just the strangers, not just the people who barely knew your name. No, the ones close to you. The ones who should have believed in you but didn't. The ones who smiled to your face but secretly hoped you'd fail. The ones who nodded politely while silently thinking, yeah, they'll never pull this off. Let's be real, doubt hurts. It stings in places even words can't reach. It stays with you long after the moment passes. You replay it in your head. You question yourself. You wonder if maybe, just maybe, they were right. That's the part no one talks about. The battle inside your own mind, where their voices get louder than your own. But here's the twist they never expected. Their doubt didn't weaken you, it woke you up. Imagine a flame, a simple, ordinary flame. Alone, it flickers, barely noticeable. But when the wind hits it, when pressure, resistance, and force push against it, that same flame doesn't die. It grows, it spreads, it becomes something bigger, hotter, stronger than it was before. That's what their doubt did to you. They thought the wind of their negativity would blow you out. Instead, it turned you into a wildfire. My friends, think about this. Every time someone counted you out, every time someone whispered behind your back, every time someone said, they'll never change, they'll never rise, they'll never grow, something inside you shifted. something ancient, something powerful, something divine. It wasn't anger, it wasn't revenge, it was hunger. Hunger for growth, hunger for healing, hunger for the life God designed for you, not the life people predicted for you. Their doubt became the gym your soul trained in. Their silence became the classroom you learned in. Their underestimation became the fuel you burned through. But it didn't feel like that at first, did it? No, at first it felt like betrayal. It felt like abandonment. It felt like standing alone on a road everyone swore you'd never survive. You wondered, why don't they believe in me? Why don't they see what I'm capable of? But that's the beauty of God's process. He doesn't need them to see it. He needs you to see it. Sometimes God will let people doubt you so deeply that you get tired of proving yourself to them, and finally start proving yourself to yourself. Let me give you a metaphor that hits home. Picture a bow and arrow. The arrow doesn't fly forward until it's been pulled backward with force. The more tension, the more pressure, the more resistance, the farther it travels. That pullback season you went through, that wasn't the enemy winning. That was God building momentum. Every moment someone didn't believe in you, every comment that minimized you, every look that dismissed you, was God's hand pulling you back, preparing you for distance. You're not just rising, you're launching. And let's tell the truth with a little humor here. Have you ever noticed how the same people who doubted you always come back with the same line? I always knew you'd make it. Sure they did. And I'm the King of England. But here's the twist. Their doubt wasn't your downfall. It was your awakening. Their disbelief became the thing that made you stop depending on people for validation. It forced you into the uncomfortable, painful, necessary season of trusting yourself and trusting God. They doubted you because they were judging you based on who you were, not who you were becoming. They didn't see the nights you prayed. They didn't see the tears you wiped alone. They didn't see the battles you fought in silence. They didn't see the growth happening beneath the surface. But God did. And now the world will. Here's the part where everything shifts. One day, not far from now, they're going to see you walk into a room with a different presence. They'll see a glow they didn't contribute to, a strength they didn't help you build, a peace they didn't give you. They'll feel it. They'll sense it. They'll realize they doubted the wrong person. The most beautiful part of this entire journey. You're not rising to prove them wrong. You're rising because you finally realized you were always meant to rise. Let their doubt fuel you. Let their silence motivate you. Let their disbelief push you further, not out of spite, but out of purpose. Because the person you are becoming is the answer to every doubt ever spoken over your name. And as this section closes, I want you to mark this moment. Write it in the comments right now. Their doubt fuels me. Write it to show them. Write it to show yourself. Write it so the world around you knows you are not done. Your story is still unfolding. And if this message lit something in you today, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs it. Because what's coming next in your life, it's bigger than what they doubted, and it's closer than you think.